Shalom. I like to say all praise is due unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, double honor to apostles of great millstone. Peace and blessings to the elect. My name is Conowak from GMS Toronto doing this lesson. It's going to be in regards to Charles V. Um, this is going to be off this site, realhistory.www.com. And they have a lot of good information. They have a lot of bones as well. But I'm gonna bring out some facts about Charles V, right? The Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, of Spain, right? Jake was in power, and basically, pretty much, they were in power all throughout Europe, and then um, the so-called Jake nobility, they set up the Americas. All right, so I'm gonna bring out some facts. So this is Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, 1500 AD to 1558 AD. Charles was ruler of the Holy Roman Emperor from 1519 and as Charles I of the Spanish Empire from 1516 his voluntarily his voluntary retirement and abandoned in favor of his youngest brother Ferdinand I and his son Philip II in 1556. Right, so during that time, this was known as the Spanish Inquisition. I don't know if I have the book. It's a very good book, and it goes into it. I believe it's this book here. It's called A History of the Marranos by Cecil Ross. A very good book. And basically it goes into the Spanish Inquisition, where the Moors and the Jews, the Jews, were being persecuted because a lot of the Moors were into that whole Islam, and a lot of the Jews was also in the land, the Iberian Peninsula, known throughout Spain and Portugal, and basically they had to either convert, to the Catholicism, right, become a so-called Christian, and have their lands taken, and basically go, basically like worship the whole Catholic way of life, the whole Catholic Church, and that's why a lot of our people fled Spain and Portugal. Some of them went to Africa, some of them went to Europe, some of them came to the New World, and my family on my mother's side, they're Sephardic Jews. So a lot of the Sephardic Jews came to the Caribbean or the Americas, fleeing from persecution. So Charles, you could I will share this link in the description, but I'm gonna just bring out this. In the New World, Charles oversaw the Spanish colonization of the Americas, including the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire and the Inca Empire. Right, so Jake was in power, right, and they had colonization, of our people that were in the tribe. The tribe. The tribe was basically the 10 tribes already here in America. Let's bring it out. Slakia. Second Esdras 13. I start at 40. Second Esdras 13 and 40, and those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners at the time of. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanazar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. So came they into another land. So that was during the Assyrian captivity. I believe that was 722 BC, and the 10 tribes were carried away prisoners, brutally. Right, because there was the whole the southern tribe, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and then the northern kingdom, Ephraim. They were fighting after the fall of after the death of Solomon, right? They were infighting amongst the Israelites. So they're infighting with the tribe of the house of Judah and with the house of Israel. And basically, the Lord got fed up and used the Assyrians to carry them into captivity. And that's why they have artifacts of with braids, Jake with braids being led away captive, um, out of the land of Israel, going to Assyria. But they took this counsel among themselves, and that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go further into another country where never mankind dwelt, right? And that's basically, wherever mankind dwelt is basically during the time of Solomon, right, and as well as David. The like the Philippine sorry like the Slovakia, my words don't, but basically with the Slovakia, the people of Tyre, right, which were Hamites, right, they will go to the New World, right. They will go once. I'll find that. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pause this. One second. Once. Yeah. So I found the precept, right, where it goes into the men of the navy of Tarshish, which is Spain, and the navy of Hiram Abiff, right, which were he was a Philistine, right, but they were they had a treaty, right, that King David and King Solomon kept, and basically Solomon and Hiram Abiff, they were on good terms, and Hiram Abiff, he built the temple, and he built also Solomon's house. He was a architect, right? So First Kings 10:21, and all the vessels, and all the King Solomon drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of his Lebanon were pure gold. None of none were of silver. It was nothing accountable of the day of Solomon. So Solomon was decked out, man. Right? He's very wealthy. He's wealthy, man. He's the wisest king. Right? Had over 1,000 women. Right? Basically, you know, cause back during the Middle Age, during the Dark Age, there's a guy known as what's the guy's name? Mansa Musa, right? And he's known as one of the wealthiest kings of all time. But he was into that whole Islam, right? But I'm gonna keep going. For the king had a sea at the navy of Tarshish, where the navy of Tarshish would be Spain, with the navy of Harem. Once every year came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. Right, so Solomon and Harem Biff, right, they would go and bring out all these exotic gold, minerals, and all these different things into the land of Jerusalem, right? But they would go once every year, like basically a year, within a year and a half. Yeah, they would have to go throughout. I will show you 1 second. Yeah, so here's the land of Israel, Jerusalem. Right, where's Jerusalem? You see Jerusalem right there. All right, they go throughout. They could go throughout this way, Tarshish, which would be Spain. They could go to the Americas, also. But with when you go into Second Esdras 13 and 40, I'll keep going 1 second. So Second Esdras 13 and 41. 13 verse 41. And yea, they took this counsel among themselves, that that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go further into another country where never mankind dwelt, right? So they came to the new world, right? Because they knew that Haram, they knew that basically the people of the men of Tyre, which were the Philistines, they came to the new world, and they'll go back and forth and do trade and build up all kinds of things over there in the new world, right? That they might there keep the statues which they never kept in their own land, right? Which they were trying to know that they keep the statues the best they are built. That's why when you go in Mexico, they have the Last Lunar Stone, and that was a symbol. That was ever had this had the Ten Commandments and all these stuff in the which was written down. So but at the same time, eventually our people became pagan to start worshiping all kinds of different um, false god, different deities, right? And that's why we end up falling. And they entered to the Euphrates by a narrow passage of the river. So Euphrates River, Slovakia. So yeah, the Euphrates, right? Because he was here they were in the land of Syria, which would have been like modern day Iraq, and then the Tigris rivers is like this. They'll go throughout this, the Persian Gulf, go all the way around, and end up going on the horns of South Africa, which was very heavy tide, right? And they would go to the New World, so they would go to the Americas here. They would, set up shop, and then end up some of them, the tribes, a lot of the tribe already here, like Aishar and all this stuff. They set up shops, and then the other tribes came and migrated and go into the United States and Canada, what they call Canada, where Canada was basically means it's Canaan, New Canaan. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were past. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, so it was a long journey, and the name of the region is called Asher, which means new land. Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they begin to come, and basically Jake, they colonize the so-called European kings of the of Europe, like of Spain, of England. They basically set up shop and they colonize the Americas, and basically our people our people end up going into captivity. You have guys like guys like Christopher Columbus that came and colonized and brought back slaves to Spain, and killed a lot of our people, right? And using wicked so-called Edomite conquistadors and so-called black conquistadors to colonize the land of the Americas and the Caribbean, right? So let's keep going. So this is so Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor of Spain. Well, I will share the link in the description. You could do your own research as well and make your own video, and you could go even deeper. So in the New World, Charles oversaw the Spanish colonization of the Americas, including the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs Empire and the Inca Empire. Charles provided 5 ships to Ferdinand Magellan, whose voyage, the first circumference that navigation of the earth, laid the foundation of the Pacific Ocean Empire of the Spanish and began Spanish colonization of the Philippines. right? So they had the Americas on lock, and then um, Jake went over there to the Philippines and colonized the Philippines. So that's why you have a lot of people known as in the Philippines as the Negritos, right? And there's a lot, or the believe in the Philippines they're known as the Mori people, Moro, the Mori people, right? So there are a lot of our people that was over there in the Asia, and was doing a lot of things over there, trade and having a lot of children, and a lot of them were, some of them were Jews, a lot of them were some of them were also Muslim under that whole Islamic way of life. But Charles being a black man was uncomfortable with what the albinos were doing, murdering, enslaving, and the theft of land, right? So the so-called albinos, right? The albinos, you so-called Edomites, and also you these Jake who are conquistadors, right? Which were mixing and doing all kinds of things with Esau, right? And wicked niggas, right? We're doing all kinds of things, and enslaving their own. That's what was going on. To non-albino, therefore Charles like convened a conference at Valladolid in order to consider the morality of the method used against the indigenous population of the new territories. It included figures such as Bartholomew de la, I believe that's another explorer, but basically, um, you know, these are the images what they have here of Charles V of Spain, which was this is a false image. This is a so-called whitewash, right? Because he was a very dark-skinned man, right? And I believe this would be in Philip the First. But it says the race of the Inca, as well as the Holy Roman Emperor, who later came to rule them during the reign of Charles V, has long been contended. Two old painting with um like province sorry like it's a provision sorry the provenance in provenance stalker provenance in Peru answers both questions directly. So the Inca, like this was like the Inca, they had kings and stuff over there in the land of Peru, which are known as the Inca people. All right, and then but this is Charles V right here. Right, he's wearing his maroon colors, and he's wearing like his hat. You know, that was us, our people, man. So said to be Charles Delamore, um, an entourage of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, painted by the Dutch painter John. So it goes to that the painting of so like basically this is Charles V, right? He had a scepter, a crown, right? So Jake was they were doing very good, but we end up going to slavery because for prophecy's sake. You have guys like King James, which he commissioned a Bible, and that's what he did. And basically, he use the Bible because he knew prophecy was coming to pass. It's out in the spirit because we end up going to captivity, and now as hope members elect now, we're going to who we are now, and starting with Abba Bivens, you know, um, from early 1960s, when Abba Bivens was on the scene, and basically because you have the commandment keepers, which they were only going to the Old Testament, and then Abba Bivens went to the Old and New Testament. Then he separated himself, and then he set up the his church, right, known as the One Westers. All right, and you have guys like King Masha, you know, um, Elder Yaquab, High Priest Yaquab, and High Priest Yeshaya, and all these different stuff, and Arya, High Priest Arya, right, which would they were going to, High Priest Arya was going to the 12 tribes as to who the tribes are, which is in the spirit, man, right? This is this is our faith, right? Because we didn't know who we were. That we're the dry bone. The dry bone is awakening up now, right? So now Esau is scared, man. But there's another one. I think it's Revelation. Uh, Revelation 12 and 12. No, Revelation 12 and I started at 15. Let's highlight this. Revelation 12 and 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. So the water, right, basically the serpent, right, which is Esau, right, the Roman Empire back in his reincarnation, right? And the earth helped the woman, right? So basically, they didn't want. Now they have the artifacts. Like we could bring out the artifacts as to who we are. We have the books, right? And Esau is upset, man, because we're exposing their lies. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wrapped the woman and went to make war with the remnant of his seed, which kept the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. So we're in that time, right, where Esau is gonna persecute he's gonna persecute the elect. He's gonna persecute a lot of us, right? But because like the lie now, what Esau has is exposed. His lies, his cover ups is being exposed, man. We're bringing out the truth as to who we are, and Esau's upset, man. And that's what Esau's upset about, man. Because we know who we are now. We know like we know in part, like we don't know everything, when you go into certain history, but when it goes to certain scriptures, we're 100%, right? We have uh Apostle Tahar, Apostle Ramla, Apostle Raka, Apostle Gabar. They're very diligent. They and they go into the history. They go into the Bible. They go into prophecy. And you know, and they feed us, man. They're feeding us. We're being fed, man. We're not because these other Israelite camps, like like you have to buy breakdowns. You have to buy uh all these different books. You have to buy all kinds of. You have to buy t-shirts and all these stuff. Like they're making money there. These other Israelite camps, they're trying to make money, but we as members of the Great Millstone, we're clothed in sackcloth, and we're just going into we're just following the spirit, right? Because the Lord said that basically the Lord basically said that you have to because we're wearing sackcloth, right? Like we're not getting paid, like we're not getting no, like monetary funding, you know. We're gonna get that funding, like when Yahweh comes and he crowns his elect, man, right? And says that, say, the elect is gonna be saying, thank you, you know, to the Heavenly Father, right? Because we're basically like we're unprofitable servants. We're unprofitable servants, right? But we're doing the will, right? So the Lord said, He said that, whether they will hear, whether they forbear, man, right? And that's what we're doing. We're washing our hands off of our people, because our people's hand is dirty, is bloody, and we're washing our hands, every day by making our videos. Where we're going to our hit, whether it's going into prophecy, whether it's going to history, whether it's going into what do you call it there, where it goes, we're going to so-called, when going to like political stuff, like we're washing our hands, right? Like geopolitics, right? Like like we're washing our hands, you know. But with that, let us all praise the due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Kakwadash, the one to pass our great milestone. Peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom.